Hi, my name is Brad Taylor, and I just finished my freshman year at RHS. I've been a part of District 196 schools now for 10 years, and
Hi,
I'm
my
going to
name
give
is
you a
Brad
glimpse
Taylor,
today
and
of
I
what's
just finished
actually
my
going on
freshman year
inside
at
these schools.
RHS.
I've been a part of District 196 schools now for 10 years, and
Hi,
I'm
my name is
becoming a
Brad
place
Taylor,
where
and I just finished my freshman year
actually
at
more
RHS.
important than promoting.
I've been a part of District 196 schools now for 10 years.
I'll take you back to my first day at RHS this fall. The principal came out and gave us a heartfelt speech about equality and standing together. He began to list countless races, such as Latino, Asian, expressing how much they matter and how important they are. But never once did he mention a race or identity that reflects me, or half the kids that were in the class. Now, members of the board, I know you haven't been to school in a while, and I know none of you, or most of you, don't have any kids left in the school district. But you must admit how uncomfortable it will be to be characterized just by your skin color on the first day of school and be thought that you were wrong just because of your skin color. So I will never forget the look one of my friends gave me from across the room as we were sitting there listening to this blatant bias being expressed in the so-called equity statement by the leader of our school. To be clear, I don't need you to tell me that I matter, but hearing the condolences given to other races and leaving just one race out, inevitably you'll start to feel like you've done something wrong. And in our principal's attempt to unify us, he instead created unwarranted boundaries and barriers between his students, pitting us against each other based on characteristics that we can't control. In another separate instance, I was told that writing "All Lives Matter" on the whiteboard was political and could be seen as offensive. When I questioned the teacher after class, she told me that she didn't have an answer and she just had to erase it, and it was quickly erased. There are political signs all over RHS, about specific races that matter, specific sexual orientations that matter, and specific perspectives that matter. But when I questioned the RHS administration about how these signs were political, they told me that they were supporting human rights. So when I questioned why the equity statement couldn't represent all students, they told me that to even ask that question was outlandish and offensive. And when I asked why that was, they told me, quote, "Whites have a pretty good situation right now," unquote. So is that not racism? Disregarding my question merely because of the color of my skin? To be honest, after enduring a year of the people in charge telling me that I'm a racist and I'm privileged and pointing out our irreversible differences, I've never noticed race more. And it's becoming the first thing I notice when I meet someone, which has never before been the case. RHS administration confidently told me that RHS students and staff are happy with their equity statement. But from my experience in talking with other students, this is not the case. I know many kids who disagree with their teachers, but they're too scared to stand up because they're worried that their grades will be docked and their learning experience will be affected. My honors government teacher, I'm not going to say his name, but he's mentioned that Democrats care more about all people while Republicans only care about themselves. And he's also inferred to us that socialism is better than democracy. He even had a statue. He had a statue of a socialist leader in his classroom. I've been told by a lot of kids that they just stay silent and adjust their schoolwork to reflect an acceptable opinion to secure a good grade. I've been approached by multiple teachers who have told me in private that they just want to say that they agree with me and they support me standing up, but they can't say it in front of the class for fear of being disciplined by the administration in some way or losing their jobs. There is clearly only one way to think in this district, and that is that they are teaching their kids to shut up if they don't agree. Now, members of the board, I want you to take a good look at yourselves in the mirror tonight and ask, are you really standing up for the equality of all people, or are you just pushing a damaging political ideology on our students? A fellow coworker at my job, who by the way is of color, discreetly told me that the schools seem to be pushing a very leftist agenda in class. This proved that not everyone is happy with your school, and not everyone who isn't happy is white. Now, due to all these instances I've mentioned and many more that I can't fit in this 5-minute speech, I've decided to leave this district and continue school on a private Christian school online. And there will be sacrifices, and I will not get to walk in the graduation ceremony or attend milestones at RHS, but I will be able to learn in an environment that is not intent on punishing me daily for my skin color and political views. Now, regardless of how you take my speech, whether you just shrug it off as malarkey or Fox News talking points, I encourage you to think about it, because someday I'm going to be a leader. I may be the president, a governor, or just a professional golfer, but I will never stop believing that everybody has value, no matter their skin color or personal beliefs, and it's a shame that you're not going to be able to say that I was an alumni of RHS in District 196. Thank you.
What do you got there? What is it? The Oregon Health Authority has sent me a paper, and it says Oregon Health Authority. Demographics, gender identity, and sexual orientation.
Huh.
What is your gender identity? You can choose more than one.
Okay. You want to read them off?
There's too many.
How many should there be?
Not two. Girl or woman.
Okay.
Boy or man.
Okay, which one do you identify with? Which
I
one
identify
are
as
you?
a man.
Yeah, that's right. It's not necessarily identify, but what are you?
Oh, I'm a boy.
Very good.
Demi-girl or demi-boy.
What is that?
A non-binary. Gender fluid.
No, I don't know.
Gender queer.
Do you know what those are?
I don't want to know.
Okay,
what
good.
these are.
Good answer.
Questioning. Agender or no gender. Show 2020 to 2025 only if I identify as Native American, blah, 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 blah.
Okay, so how many are there? Like 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
The only thing I'm questioning is my choices of women.
There's more. If any of the following selected cannot select any other response. I am not sure of my gender identity.
Oh my God, are you kidding?
I don't know what this question is asking, or I prefer not to say. Are you transgender? Yes, no, I am not sure. I don't know what this question is asking, or I prefer not to say.
What do you want to do with that thing?
That's amazing. Now, please listen to this.
My name is Chuck Gonzalez. I'm an Oregon resident and father of 3 boys that are here in the Oregon school district, specifically the Hillsborough School District. I was made aware of this survey somehow online. I might have got it through an email, but it was a survey that is asking our children, grades 6th, 8th, and 11th grade, issued by the Oregon Health Authority. And the survey, it asks a lot of things, a lot of really confusing things to 6th graders. And one of those is it discusses and asks about their gender and sexual identity. So when I heard about this, I went to the website, downloaded the PDF form, and sure enough, it was just right there. And it asked, what is your sexual identity? Boy, girl, man, woman, transgender, I don't know, pansexual, asexual,
straight, lesbian,
all of these different things, including I don't know what I am, I'm not sure what I am. So I read through the survey. I wanted to understand it as best as I could, and then I contacted my school and said, do not give this to my son. The video that I had made of giving this the first time to my son that he had read online on a video, that was the video that kind of just really shocked him. And we got to see kind of his raw, full reaction of, you know, why is my school asking me these questions as a 6th grader, to which he didn't even have the answers to. When I had heard of this survey, none of the parents that I had spoken with or comments online had heard anything about it. And of course, plenty of people thought that it was completely made up and ridiculous. But when it actually came out, when I posted the link, and I had parents private messaging me to send them the link to the survey so they could opt out. And this was about 3 weeks ago that we actually got the survey. And so I immediately called the school and I said, do not give my son this survey. They sent home an opt-out form to his mother. She filled out the opt-out form and he didn't take the survey. They have no right to step on the values that we have as Christians. Mm-hmm. And they certainly have no right to step into, you know, whatever kind of sexual values that doesn't even have. Yeah. They're projecting their own ideologies on our children. So, I mean, yes, it's infuriating as a Christian and as a Catholic, but just simply as a parent and standing up for what is good based on what is clearly evil in this case. I got upset because it's not as if this problem is getting any better. This problem is getting worse of why are our schools asking a 6th grader about their sexual identity. And if you ask the Democrats and the progressives of this state here in Oregon, they're going to tell you that it's because The government's responsibility is to offer services and protection to children who cannot discuss those issues at home or who feel that they're oppressed and they don't have any support. So of course, the state of Oregon has to be able to support these children away from their parents. And that's just such a far overreach. It is infuriating that the government, the state of Oregon, and these liberal progressives down in Salem can think that they can go into the bedrooms of our children and ask them about things they have no clue about. My son had no idea what any of this meant, but he knew that it was weird and sick and gross. Parents, don't be afraid to go to your city council meetings, to go to your school district meetings, but also don't blow your gasket. The way that we are going to win is for us to stay in control of our own thoughts, our own words, and our own emotions. So if you're going to go and you're going to go to fight the right way. You fight with the laws that we currently have in place. You fight with your catechism of the church. You fight with your intelligence rather than just fighting with your voice. Fight with your head.
Yeah.
Because changing these laws, getting these people completely out of office and putting the right people in there, that is the correct way to do it. That's the right thing to do.
This is not a survey and this is not data collection. This is fishing, and fishing for vulnerability, fishing for the moment a child's natural innocence can be disrupted, redirected, and reshaped by adults who have no moral authority to be anywhere near this subject. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. And the most disturbing part, these are not adults being asked these questions. Can you imagine? These are literally children. And some of them, they're not even teenagers. That's how crazy is that, ladies and gentlemen? That is crazy. It's despicable. Because if a child is not legally or morally capable of consent, then no institution, school, district, or government agency, or even ideological group has the right to ask them about these kind of topics. Identity, sexuality, intimate stuff. That line used to be obvious, but now it's being deliberately erased. That's terrible, ladies and gentlemen. It's crazy. Because remember, Jesus didn't give gentle suggestions when it came to the protection of children. He issued warnings. Yes, whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to stumble, it would be better for him to have a great milestone fastened around his neck and be thrown in the depth of the sea. That's from Matthew 18 verse 6. Go read it for yourself. And that is one of the strongest condemnations Jesus ever gave. And it's not for murderers, it's not for thieves, but for those who corrupt the little ones. So when people brush this off as harmless questions or just exposure, understand this: Christ himself disagrees. Yeah. Because, ladies and gentlemen, children are not blank slates for the state to write on. They are not experiments. They are not a demographic to be tracked. No. And the Bible tells us clearly, children are a heritage from the Lord, offsprings a reward from him. That's from Psalms 127 from verse 3. A heritage is protected. A reward is guarded, not probed. No. And notice something powerful in this statement. The children's response: I don't want to know. Yeah, that is wisdom, I must say. Literally. That is instinct. That is a child recognizing a boundary that adults around him should have never enforced. Yes. And that child needed exactly what he had. And guess what that is, ladies and gentlemen? A present father. Yes, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, a present father. You see, refusing to normalize what should have been normalized.
I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you today. I never thought that the shirt I wore to school on March 21st would lead me to speak with you today. On that Tuesday morning, I was taken out of gym class to sit down with two adults for what turned out to be a very uncomfortable talk. I was told that people were complaining about the words on my shirt, that my shirt was making some students feel unsafe. Yes, words on a shirt made people feel unsafe. They told me that I wasn't in trouble, but it sure felt like I was. I was told that I would need to remove my shirt before I could return to class. When I nicely told them that I didn't want to do that, they called my father. Thankfully, my dad supported my decisions and came to pick me up. What did my shirt say? 5 simple words. There are only 2 genders. Nothing harmful, nothing threatening, just a statement I believe to be a fact. I have been told that my shirt was targeting a protected class. Who is this protected class? Are their feelings more important than my rights? I don't complain when I see pride flags and diversity posters hung throughout the school. Do you know why? Because others have a right to their beliefs just as I do. Not one person, staff, or student told me that they were bothered by what I was wearing. Actually, just the opposite. Several kids told me that they supported my actions and that they wanted one too. I was told that the shirt was a disruption to learning. No one got up and stormed out of class. No one burst into tears. I'm sure I would have noticed if they had. I experience disruptions to my learning every day. Kids acting out in class are a disruption, yet nothing is done. Why do the rules apply to one, yet not another? I feel like these adults were telling me that it wasn't okay for me to have an opposing view. Their arguments were weak, in my opinion. I didn't go to school that day to hurt feelings or cause trouble. I have learned a lot from this experience. I learned that a lot of other students share my view. I learned that adults don't always do the right thing or make the right decisions. I know that I have a right to wear a shirt with those 5 words. Even at 12 years old, I have my own political opinions, and I have a right to express those opinions. Even at school, this right is called the First Amendment to the Constitution. My hope in being here tonight is to bring the school committee's attention to this issue. I hope that you will speak up for the rest of us so we can express ourselves without being pulled out of class. Next time, it may not only be me. There might be more students that decide to speak out. Thank you for your time and good night.
Thank you. Anyone else on public comment?
During lunch on April 11th, I had no idea who the guest speaker was going to be. I was curious about what they were going to talk about. When I arrived in the library, I sat down for a presentation there. Dr. Sarah Asborough talked about hormone therapy and sex changes. She also talked about where and how to get sex change surgery, hormone shots, and Christian not supporting the LGBT community. I also charted that not all Christian people are bad and some are openly support community. She responded with, name 10 priests that are gay or openly support the community. I just sat back down because I didn't know how to respond. I actively support having a gay straight alliance club and I attend the meetings. However, I feel that since my own views on more of the conservative side and I identify as a Christian, that my views are not accurately supported in this club. The views presented are very one-sided and it teaches you only to think one way and to ignore the other side. I also attend the esports club at Champion. In order to join the club, my parents had to sign a permission slip. This was to make sure I was always safe while attending the after-school club. The GSA club has no permission slip and to have parents sign, and basically your parents wouldn't know that you were going unless you told them. My esports club also has a Discord server, and that in order to use, my parents had to sign a permission slip. I had to allow my parents to access the account. GSA also has a Discord server, and my parents never had to sign a permission or even knew of its existence. Before and after school clubs need rules and regulations to ensure students' safety both online and in person. This will help parents be involved in their child's life and you can still have fun in school. I am asking Bernie Independent School District to take action and accountability with these issues. Our future and safety as students depends on it. Thank you.
Okay.
This young man showed more maturity, courage, and clarity than most adults in that room, ladies and gentlemen. And honestly, than a lot of people walking on the planet right now. You could see it. Yeah. calm, respectful, firm, no insults, just truth. And somehow, telling the truth now still manages to make people uncomfortable. Can you imagine?
Hello, everybody. Nice to see you all. Thank you for being peaceful. That's very kind. Not so used to that. What do we got here? Let trans kids play. What is a trans kid? Does anyone know? Does anyone want to tell me what a trans kid is? What is it that makes a child trans? No, as usual, not one person here is willing to have a conversation about what a trans kid is or why we should be giving children chemical castration drugs that leave them infertile. Anyone care to tell me why we should be cutting the body parts off of children? A lot of you probably don't even believe that's happening, right? No, y'all got nothing. I was wondering if anyone here could tell me what a trans kid is. No, everyone's mute. Nobody's capable of having a conversation. It's very sad.
What's your argument?
Well, what's a trans kid, I wonder? I'd like to just have a nice, normal conversation, if you wouldn't mind.
They're just human beings.
Sure, yeah, human beings are human beings. What makes a child trans? Because they believe it. Believe in what?
Because it's who they are.
What does that mean? It's not a definition. I'm wondering what it is that makes a child trans.
Oh, what makes you you? Nobody will like it here.
This is the level of intelligence we're dealing with. We love you more than you hate us. Why do you think I hate you? What is it about me that makes you think I hate you? Yeah, that's what I thought. You know, it's funny to have all these passionate people who can't offer one word about what they actually believe in. So you almost wanted to talk before. Do you want to maybe continue that? Go for a little stroll?
I'm not interested.
All right.
Because you're not interested in...
I'm totally interested in having a conversation. Oh, I'd love to hear from you what your children want and need.
Our children want to be who they are. That's all.
Okay. So what does that mean?
It means
like if we're
they can be whoever they want to be. As you should be, as free as you want to be. And we're not engaging. We don't want to engage.
Oh, we're not engaging. Oh, I see.
Yeah, because it's really...
Here come the thought police.
Oh, thought police.
Here come the thought police.
Everything actually gets filtered through skin, color, labels, boxes, you name it, all categories. And the moment somebody questions it, suddenly they are the problem. Double standards. It's terrible, ladies and gentlemen. And I have seen stories that actually break my heart. Children coming home confused, ashamed of who they are, saying things no child should ever have to say about themselves. And that's not education. That is not even growth. That's not healing. That is damage, ladies and gentlemen.
We're not allowed to have a conversation, everybody. Too dangerous.
Hi.
Hi.
Local reporter Frida Savannah, Bucks
Hi.
County Herald.
How's it going?
It's going well. How about you?
Great.
What comments would you like to offer about being in Doylestown?
Well, I come here to have conversations and raise awareness about what I consider to be the greatest child abuse scandal in modern medicine history. There is no such thing as a transgender child.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Let's back up.
Do you want to record
moment.
on your phone?
Nah.
Okay.
So you said the greatest child abuse.
The greatest child abuse scandal in modern medicine history.
And by that you're referring to what?
To giving children puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries because they've been led to believe that they must have been born in the wrong body, which is a pseudoscientific, quasi-religious nonsense. There's no such thing as being born in the wrong body. Our children are beautiful just as they are. No drugs or scalpels needed. Historically, children with gender dysphoria, if you look at all the academic studies that were ever done before we started giving kids puberty blockers, back when this just affected a handful of kids, all the studies show that more than 80% of the time, kids with this condition called gender dysphoria simply grew out of it when they went through puberty. The cure for their gender dysphoria was puberty itself. Now we block the cure. These same studies show that the majority of these children, when they grew up to be gay.
Majority of kids who go through a change?
All right.
Or the
You're
majority?
going to need to take notes or record this because I don't think you're going to be able to get an accurate story.
Well,
right?
I'm pretty familiar with the topic, but
okay, so the majority of these
I will read
kids.
it back to you, make sure that we're
Sure.
on the same, and then we're going to cut it off because I don't have time.
All right.
Nor do you, I'm sure.
So what this movement is doing is taking kids who would grow up to be gay, telling them there's something wrong with them, which is an extraordinarily abusive thing to tell a child on its own merits, never mind the physical harm being done. This is psychologically abusive. And it's harming kids who would grow up to be gay. It's harming autistic kids, kids who suffered trauma, abuse, sexual abuse, kids with borderline personality disorder. Who knows what's going on with these children? They're kids who, for some reason, don't feel like they fit in. They're having this self-loathing going on. And now they're being told, hold on.
I think I just interrupt you for a moment. Do you think there's any room for a trans person who believes as they do?
There's no such thing as a transgender child.
No such thing.
There's no such thing as a transgender child. Please quote me on that.
I will.
Transition is something you do, not something you are.
But do you see any room for any kind of access to care of any kind?
This isn't care. Sterilizing children is not care.
Choose the word. Do you see any room
So the left,
for access to any kind of...
There is zero room for puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries on kids. None whatsoever.
No, thank you. Please, no.
What would you think if we decided to stop puberty in a puppy? Would that be animal abuse? Yeah, she laughed. I gotta laugh. Right? The left would never do that. They'd be out in the streets in the hundreds of thousands protesting animal abuse. But for some reason, we can block puberty in children. And you guys want to call that love and inclusion.
And the sad part is, these are the things that are happening in our schools. This is not fiction. No, this is not a Hollywood script. And when parents push back, when they say no, this is not right, they are treated like extremists instead of protectors. Nowadays, they are even using the words like inclusivity, But the result, if the result is division, resentment, shame, then all we have done is simply to repaint the old same sin. You see? It's crazy. And here's even the part that stands out to me, that people from every background recognize this truth. Black, Hispanic, white people standing up and saying, enough. Because we gotta stop telling people they are the victims, because they are not. Stop dividing us. You see? That ought to tell people something, ought to tell you something. Truth resonates across lines that ideology can't. You see? Ladies and gentlemen, make no mistake about it. Schools are actually supposed to sharpen minds, not to mold ideologies. No, or to push political agendas. No, it's supposed to be about truth, discipline, preparation for the future. You see? Not political pressure or agendas. You see? And when adults use their authority to manipulate children, that is not leadership.
Please, no. No, excuse me. We're going to hand them back to you.
Oh, let her go.
Please.
Let her go. Ask your lawyer.
I don't think you're running the meeting, sir.
No, but ask your lawyer.
Are you afraid?
It's not going to hurt anything.
Are you intimidated by a child?
Yes.
They do this in the classroom, don't they?
They are. They're afraid.
Pornography, what you want? Ask your lawyer.
It's scary.
At the end of the last board meeting, a few of you board members were triggered by the facts and truth my mom, myself, and a few of the other commenters spoke about. I did a bit of digging online, and I discovered a way to follow up on the airing of your grievances regarding the public speakers at these meetings. It is called the Hurt Feelings Report. At the end, you'll see that there's a place for your name, date your feelings were hurt, name a person who hurt your feelings, and which feelings were hurt. There's also a part to document your injury, such as which ear were the hurtful words spoken into. Is there permanent damage to your feelings? Did you require a tissue for your tears? And if the words resulted in a traumatic brain injury? Part 4 of this report is important for you to know. You can mark all the reasons you're filling the report. Some of the reasons are as follows. I am thin-skinned. My feelings are easily hurt. I didn't sign up for this. I was told that I'm not a hero. I was not offered a tissue. I want my mommy and other options. Again, you can check all that apply to your hurt feelings. There's additional space for you to explain more in depth on how your feelings were hurt. The bottom of the form reference is the department. The department refers to the parent attendees of these meetings. The statement on the bottom of the report reads as follows. We, as the department, take hurt feelings very seriously. If you don't have someone who can give you a hug or make things all better, please let us know, and we will promptly dispatch a hugger to you as soon as possible. In the event a hugger cannot be found, an EMS team will be dispatched. If you are in need of supplemental support upon written request, we will make every reasonable effort to provide you with a blankie, binky, or a bottle if you so desire. Remember to sign the form, and you can present it to all the parents at the next meeting, since they are the people responsible for voting you onto the board. They are your bosses, and will determine if your grievances are legitimate and if actions should be taken. I'm sure that they will be as attentive to your complaints as you've been to theirs. Please feel free to make copies of this blank form so you can file hurt feeling reports in the future when you feel any of the public speakers at these meetings are in violation of their First Amendment right. Thank you.
You've got a young girl, 14 years old, and she walks in there with more clarity, more confidence, and more courage than a lot of grown adults that I've seen in these kind of situations. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, if someone that young, ladies and gentlemen, can stand up like that, speak that clearly, and hold her ground under pressure, then what excuse do the rest of us have? Because let's be real, ladies and gentlemen, more adults, they wouldn't even do that. Most people, they would hesitate, they would have second guesses about even standing up. They would worry about how they're going to be perceived. But she didn't do any of that. She literally stepped up, said what needed to be said, and didn't hold back.
I'm Shannon Kessler, but I'm going to give my time to Celeste, who is a current student.
We're not doing that. You're both here.
I'd like to remind you that you're not in violation of the Brown Act. To give us extra time, your act shortening our time is a borderline violation of the Brown Act. In fact, you could have changed this item. You could have moved it to any other point. You could have moved it earlier in the meeting, and that would not have violated the Brown Act, in which case you wouldn't have had to worry about staying so late.
I guess you're done. Okay, Celeste.
Hello, my name is Celeste Deist. I am 17 years old, a junior and track athlete at AGHS. Most importantly, I am a woman advocating for the renewal of female rights, which recently has been overlooked and disregarded. I implore all of you to help put an end to this current injustice. Recently, I went into the women's locker room to change for track practice, where I saw at the end of my row a biological male watching not only myself, but the other young women undress. This experience was beyond traumatizing. I must add, he is not changing in our locker room because he's in his track clothes, dressed and ready to go to practice at the beginning of the day. What? Therefore, there's absolutely no reason for him to be in any locker room, let alone the women's. Adults like yourself made me and my peers feel like our own comfort was invalid, even though our privacy was and still is being completely violated. The individual who identifies as female has XY chromosomes. Biologically, this makes him a male. Because females have XX chromosomes. This is basic biology.
Okay, please wrap it up.
Yeah. I just want to ask, what about us? We cannot sit around and allow our rights to be given up to cater to an individual that is a man, who watches women undress and is stripping away female opportunity that once was fought for us. Sadly, we have to try and regain our rights again. I hope you put effort into the restoration of our school safety. Thank you for serving our community.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm a concerned citizen. My boys did go to Arroyo Grande High School and since graduated, and I have two wonderful grandsons. It came to my attention that there is some awful confusion here with our school district, that we're recognizing things that are just not something that I'm accustomed to in my years of growing up. Of course, we all grew up in this board, I'm sure, with Mr. Rogers teaching us, and not with what we hear today. Watching what's happening here on campus with the children that are choosing what they want to be, not what they're naturally born to be, is very disheartening for our community to represent. Let's give them an opportunity, but in their own way, a gender neutral zone, because there are so many kids being affected in such a negative way. Now, when I was a young woman and I was in a locker room, I was changing in front of women, but I was actually almost assaulted in a female locker room by a man.
Please finish up.
So I'm gonna finish up. But the problem is that we're not finished here. We have to continue to raise our voice to stand for equality for everyone represented. We can separate things that are a choice other than things that are natural. So we have to make a distinguished decision here. And that's where I'm going to stand, is on the decisions you will make and the decisions people make with their bodies. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Powell.
Thank you for your time. I am really challenging you to be heroes and stand against the unjust and unconstitutional laws that Gavin Newsom has dictated that I know you guys are trapped in, and hopefully we can stop this insanity here and now. We need you to lead. Be a district to lead California away from this insanity. Girls need their spaces. They need to be safe, and that we do not need to, buy in or feed the delusion of children that actually need emotional help. We need to help those kids, but we also need to protect our children. That, all kids have the exact same rights. No child has more rights than any other child. And I am looking forward to the next election period. And I hope you guys will step up so we can find some really great leaders in our community to lead us out of this insanity, so we can get back to common sense and critical thinking and get rid of this woke mind virus. And thank you, Mike Ford.
And what even stands out wasn't just what she said, ladies and gentlemen. It was how she said it. Because there is this level of composure that I don't normally see at that age, you see. It didn't feel rehearsed or forced. It just felt real. Like she actually understood what she was talking about and believed every word that was coming out of her mouth. And that is rare, ladies and gentlemen. Very rare. Because a lot of people, they talk about empowerment all the time. You hear the word thrown around constantly. But then you would actually see a young woman stand up, speak boldly, challenge authority, and say something that might not be popular in certain circles. And suddenly it gets quiet, right? It gets uncomfortable. That tells you something. It tells you everything you need to know, ladies and gentlemen. Because real strength isn't just about saying what people want to hear. It's about saying what needs to be said, especially when it's not easy, especially when you know you're going to get a pushback, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll be honest, there was a moment in there that didn't sit right with me when she was clearly emotional, clearly trying to express something seriously. I mean, the response that she gets was basically, all right, wrap it up. That right there says a lot, ladies and gentlemen. Because if you can sit there, look at the young girl who's trying to speak from her heart, and your first instinct is to rush her, to cut her off, to move on like just another item on the agenda, then somewhere along the line, we have lost the plot, ladies and gentlemen. Because that's not leadership. That is not even listening. That's not even basic respect. You see? And I keep coming back to this question. How did we get to a point where situations like this, they even exist in the first place, ladies and gentlemen? Where a young girl gets to feel uncomfortable, where they feel like their privacy, their space, their safety isn't being taken seriously.
Wednesday morning, I went to the guidance counselor and told her, since I was second on the hit list, knowing that there was something going to happen, because there was a girl she was targeting every day at lunch. And they would go to the counselor and tell them every day that this is going to happen. And Wednesday, I went with 2 others, and each of us filled out a whole paper full of what's going to happen and why it's going to happen. And then I went to chorus and I was told, watch your back. He is going to come for you and this other girl at lunch. And when I was at lunch, I was terrified, and I told Miss Fattori that was happening, and she said, don't worry about it, it's not going to happen.
What a joke.
But, and early that morning, I was told I was not going to see Mel for the rest of that week. But I was in lunch, and all of a sudden I just hear all this screaming and everybody running. And I see Mel running in after somebody, and everyone's screaming and running. But the girl who got attacked didn't see it because she was face backwards. And all of a sudden you just hear these terrible, loud bangs of the Stanley bouncing off her head. And then you see Mel grabbing her hair and hitting her against the table and just repeatedly hitting her with the Stanley. There was blood going everywhere. I was the table right behind it. And all you see is blood everywhere. And it was just, and then you say in your email that it was 8 minutes, but we timed it, it was 28 minutes. And we had to sit in there and watch them clean up her blood off those tables and ground. And we had to watch them take her out with blood dripping down her face, and I will never forget that. And laying in bed last night, I just kept repeating it in my head, and we shouldn't have had to sit there and just watch them clean up her blood with the mop, watch her repeatedly yelling that I'm gonna murder you, and just hitting her with the Stanley. And I don't get how, that you couldn't have stopped it. It was 5 hours from when I told you it was going to happen and when it happened. It was 5 whole hours. I don't get how you couldn't have stopped that. And how Ms. Fattori said, don't worry, it's not going to happen. We have her under control. But clearly you didn't.
I go to Pembroke Middle School, and I was there when the attack happened. I feel like there could have been a lot of things put in place to prevent this, and I feel like the district was lying to us, saying that it was a fight when it wasn't. It was assault, and that she was not at Penfield. When I have a friend that goes to Penfield, and said she came. So I don't feel like my friend would be lying. I would feel like the district would be lying when they lied to me multiple times. And I do have evidence saying, because they said, oh, it happened at 1:08, but I have me calling my mom at 1:30, 1:29, and 1:28 saying that I'm scared because I don't know what's happening. And I feel like they could have told us a lot of things to prevent this. And one of the things is there was multiple complaints about him. Multiple. My friends were telling me, and the thing is that she was scared. She moved to a different table to be safer. And this happening is not okay. And that he escaped the office when I feel like our office should have been better with that. That could have never happened if our office was right there, and it's not even that. It's just the fact that the kids had to experience that, see that we are young. We are in middle school. We're not supposed to be seeing these things. And I feel like the district could have been they could have done so much things to do this. And if she is coming back to school, that is not okay. And it's not okay. And there's 1,000 kids that have not been here today. And I just don't think it's okay for that to do that. I don't know, but if she was trying to put her trays away, because she was supposed to be in the office. If she was trying to put her trays away, then they could have been with her. They could have walked with her. And I feel like they could have got better staff to do that. And I feel like they shouldn't have let that happen. And I feel like it's traumatizing to see that blood on the ground, like Emily was saying, that we saw blood on the ground. And we were in the room, and when I was walking out and they wouldn't let me on my phone, I couldn't contact my mom, but I did anyways. When I was walking out, I looked around and I saw Vanessa in the wheelchair, getting wheeled out, which I don't think that was okay, and that there's so many kids sobbing, and I feel like you could do way better to prevent that.
Man, I'm watching this whole situation unfold, and I'm not even gonna lie to you, ladies and gentlemen. This isn't just disturbing. This is actually infuriating. Because what I'm seeing here is not just a school incident. This is a complete breakdown of responsibility at every level. Yeah, and the first thing that hits me is this. This wasn't some random little scruffle. This wasn't kids just being kids. No, this was a full-on violent assault.
Sorry, what was the name? Bella. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Alyssa. I live in North Wellsboro.
Could you just give your last name?
Santiago.
Thank you.
I want to start off by saying that my daughter was #1 on that hit list. Okay. I called the school on 2 separate occasions, Tuesday and Wednesday, to inform them of this child who was going to curb stomp my daughter or make my daughter bite the curb. And I was assured that my daughter was safe. And I was assured that it was handled and taken care of. I wasn't called. I was followed up with a generic email saying, the student you mentioned was talked to today. If you have any other concerns or questions, please reach out. Okay. Her friend got information that her and my daughter were going to be brutally attacked, and nothing was done. Nothing. So my next question is, where are the answers? You all are saying you're not commenting tonight? So when do we get to comments?
Do your job. Yep. Yeah. Give us answers.
And you, Todd, I'm going to call you out personally, okay? Because the victim's father was told you were unaware that this child was a threat. How? How is that possible when I made a phone call to let them know that my child was being victimized? You answer me that on your time.
Hello, my name is Isabella Grodin. I live in Lansdale and I am in college to become a teacher. I take educational psychology and this was the topic of today's class. We were absolutely horrified and disgusted what had taken place at the middle school yesterday. Woman prior, Sarah Vittoria, is my mother, and my brother was the person who was next to this victim that day. And he saw everything up close, and I am horrified by the only way I can even describe it is a bystander effect to where were the adults in this situation. Lunch ladies, teachers, security staff. As a previous student of North Penn, and not only North Penn, but this Pembroke Middle School district, I phoned my friend who went there with me, and we were floored because we know where security guards are supposed to be in that cafeteria, and I want to know why it took so long for any of them to get there. And the second one got there, the attacker took something off the security guard to continue attacking the student. Where were these guards? I want to know how this student escaped the office. Escaped the office is what I heard tonight. They escaped the office. If you weren't going to have the security guards where they were supposed to be in the lunchroom to help these students, where something like this had taken place, then why weren't they there with the student, making sure nothing like this was going to happen when you were warned previously? And I'm in school to become a teacher, so I know IEPs. I know behavioral plans, and I know sometimes parents don't care, and that's unfortunate. And I'm sorry if this attacker came from a bad home. I'm sorry if their family did not care, and I'm sorry the school did not care enough to inform professionals, CPS, whatever, that this child was a danger to themselves and to others, because there was clearly different reports over the years showing that they were a danger to themselves and others. So why was this student allowed to just continue going through the school district? You took them from Penfield to Pembroke. What difference does that make? They were not punished, they were sent to a different school. There were no consequences to these, to what has gone on tonight. There seems to have no real consequences to what happened, and it doesn't seem like anyone wants to talk about how bad this really was. So I hope I'm wrong, and I hope that you all do care, and that this will be resolved, and this will not happen again.
And the fact that anybody is even trying to water this down or repackage it with some softer language, that right there is part of the problem. Because we gotta call it what it is, ladies and gentlemen. Because when you start playing word games, calling something a fight when some person is clearly the aggressor, it's like you're already protecting the wrong side.
Fight at a middle school leaves a student seriously injured, and they want to know if it could have been prevented. I'm Jason Martinez.
I'm Sheba Russell. Those parents say they are extremely concerned. Kelly, what are you learning today?
Well, Sheba and Jason, tonight, Upper Gwynedd Police did allow me to view surveillance video of this alleged attack. They would not allow us to record it or did not provide us with any copies, but it did show the student running up to the victim from behind in a packed cafeteria and striking the victim several times on the head with a large Stanley cup. It lasted only a few seconds before a security guard and another staff member intervened. The student's head was visibly bleeding. Police say the student will be charged.
And he texted me and just said, "Mom, I'm scared." And
I can't even tell you what it's like to get a text message like that when your kid is at school.
Sarah Patori got emotional talking about what should have been an ordinary Wednesday at Pembroke Middle School for her 7th grade son. She says she's now questioning if and when he'll return after what he witnessed.
He's been a mess ever since. I just feel like there had to be multiple failures along the way here for this to happen.
Upper Gwinnett police say a 13-year-old student violently attacked a 12-year-old student in the cafeteria unprovoked around 1:15 in the afternoon with a metal Stanley mug. Police say the 12-year-old was taken to the hospital. In surveillance video viewed by Fox 29, her head was bleeding. School officials say the school was placed on hold for about 8 minutes and then proceeded on with the day.
You get that call from your kid hearing the words blood and help me, and you freeze and you panic.
The middle school principal sent a letter home to parents, first calling the incident a physical altercation. After 8 p.m. Wednesday night, the superintendent sent a longer email about the incident, saying the school's principal would be meeting with each grade today to discuss it and the support they will have available, including additional counselors. Mom Melissa Santiago says she reported the 13-year-old student earlier in the week to school counselors after her daughter was threatened.
If it was taken serious by multiple complaints, that little girl would have been in school today. And my daughter is traumatized.
It didn't have to come to this. It did not have to come to this if they took action sooner.
This mom requested that we keep her anonymous.
So it's just very uneasy. Like, why did she pick that girl? Did she just pick a random person? I want to know, is this child returning? How are you keeping our kids safe?
Now, the district declined to do any interviews today, and they also did not send any additional letters home to parents today. But they did say in that letter yesterday that they are taking all the steps they need to restore a parent's confidence. They also said that rumors that the student was expelled from another school and transferred here to Pembroke are not true. Sheba and Jason, parents tell me they are going to tonight's school board meeting, that is, to voice their concerns.
And then I start looking deeper into what actually happened. And it just gets worse, ladies and gentlemen. You've got reports that this went on way longer than it should have. You've got warnings that were ignored. You've got signs that something like this was going to happen, and nobody stepped in. Can you imagine? So now I'm sitting here and I'm asking, where were the adults? Where were the teachers? Where was the security, ladies and gentlemen? Where was the administration? Because last time I checked, kids are sent to school to be safe. That's the bare minimum, at least. We are not even talking about excellence. We're not even talking about a high-quality education yet. We are just talking about basic safety. And somehow, even that seemed to have failed. And I'll say something that a lot of people are thinking, but they don't want to say out loud. There is a serious accountability problem here, ladies and gentlemen. Because it's not just the child who committed the act. No. Where are the parents in this? At some point, we have to stop pretending that kids, they operate in a vacuum. If a child is capable of that level of violence, that doesn't just come out of nowhere. That is a learned behavior, ignored behavior, or enabled behavior. And if it is enabled, then yeah, there's need for accountability at home too, to be honest. Because this idea that nobody is responsible, that everything just happens, that's how you end up with situations like this, folks. Now let us talk even about the school for a second, because this part, it actually bothers me. If there were a prior warnings, and it sounds like they were, then this becomes more than just negligence, to be honest. This becomes a failure of duty. Because if you knew something could happen and you did nothing, then how do you explain that? How do you explain letting kids walk into a situation that could have been prevented? And on top of that, you've got confusion about basic facts. How long did this go on? What actually happened? How does this story keep shifting? That's when people start losing trust completely. Because when the truth isn't clear, people, they assume the worst. And honestly, can you blame them? I mean, there's also this part I think people, they are really frustrated about, and I get it. There's this feeling that certain narratives are being protected even when the facts don't line up clean. You see, when people feel like they are being told not to believe what they are clearly saying, that creates even more anger, to be honest. Truly.
So apparently in the 10th grade English course at Athens Drive Magnet, students have access to book describing incest and, let's say, corn. And all I can say is, if you're able to do so, just homeschool your kids, bro. God bless this young lady for her courage.
Go ahead and come up, and then we'll try to get one more after that, and then we'll proceed with our business agenda.
Good evening. Thank you very much for this chance to speak. So, my name is Lorena Benson. I'm in the 10th grade and I'm 15 years old. For 11 of those years, I lived in the Dominican Republic. 3 months ago, my family and I moved to North Carolina and have me enrolled in the highly rated Athens Drive Magnet High School. I was very excited for this opportunity until last Friday. That is, on Friday the 13th, my English honors class, my teacher assigned the class to read a story independently and then come together into groups and discuss the story and answer some questions. There was a part in this story that made me feel very uncomfortable, and I looked around and saw the same expression on other students' faces. We all had just read the following. It was not the summer you fell in love with your cousin Doozy, because that happened just a few summers before, when you both wiggled into the tiny space behind Grandma's garage, and you tried to fit what you both called his banana into what you both called your tomato, but neither of you was sure which was the right hole. Even after reading again, it makes me feel very uncomfortable. This graphic, ancestral, sexual language should not be taught in any class, much less an honors English class. That day I came back home from school. As per usual, I told my parents about my day and the things I did. I showed them what I was taught in my English class, and they were as outraged as I was. This incident got me thinking. In my Healthful Living Honors class, I am being taught about brain functions and development. I was taught that the teenage brains, like mine, are not fully developed yet, and that we must be careful about what we engage during these years. Based on this logic, I am a teenager, my brain is not fully developed, and I should not have graphic, ancestral, sexual content taught to me in my classes. I am deeply bothered and deeply disappointed. I have decided to leave Athens Drive High School because I should not have to deal with pornographic, ancestral, sexual content taught to me in my classes.
I gotta be honest, watching that young woman stand there and speak the way she did, calm, clear, confident, that did something to me, Fox. Because here you have a student, and she's showing more maturity, more logic, and honestly more moral clarity than some of the adults who are running that classroom. She wasn't screaming, she wasn't disrespectful, she wasn't even out of control. She stood there on principle. She said what she believed, folks. And she did it with composure. That takes courage, ladies and gentlemen. Real courage.
That's kind of a recap of our remarks on gender and sexuality moving from last class. What did we do get to in our last class?
I just have a question because I'm not entirely sure this is legal to be teaching. Because according to our president, there's only 2 genders, and he said that he would be freezing agencies' funding programs that promote gender ideology.
On day 1 of my administration, I signed an executive order to slash federal funding for any school that pushes transgender insanity on our youth.
And this also very much goes against not only myself, but a lot of people's religious beliefs. And so I am not going to participate in this because it's not legal, and I
don't want to promote something that is against our president's laws, as well as against my religious beliefs.
You certainly have a right to engage in things in scientific groups. And you suggested something else.
Yes.
You are under a misconception that what I'm saying is.
Can you explain to me how teaching us about gender identity and transgenderism and that there's more sexes than
gender isn't illegal.
Huh?
My gender isn't illegal.
Gender? What do you mean? Your gender is not illegal. According to President Trump's executive order, if you want me to read the paragraph in the order itself.
If you are uncomfortable in this class, we do have the right to leave.
Yes.
What we are doing is not illegal, and if you would like to pretend that it is, you need to talk to the department or the head of undergraduate.
Well, I've already been in contact with the president of A&M, and I actually have a meeting with him in person to show all of my documentation tomorrow, but...
We are also aware, and this is part of why there was an observer in the class.
Yes.
I'm not convinced that your proposal will be effective in stopping me from teaching things that are biologically true, because I do have the legal and ethical authority, legal and professional expertise in this classroom.
Okay. Yeah, no, I am.
How did we even get to a place where students have to correct teachers on basic boundaries? I mean, when did it become normal for explicit content to be introduced to the youngsters in the name of education? Because back in the day, distributing certain materials to kids would have brought serious consequences. Now it's being defended under academic freedom. That should concern everyone.
Controversy at Texas A&M University, where a professor teaching children's literature has been fired for including gender identity themes in her instruction. In a classroom video released this week, a student can be heard objecting and the professor pushing back.
I just have a question because I'm not entirely sure this is legal to be teaching. Because according to our president, there's only 2 genders, and he said that he would be freezing agencies' funding programs that promote gender ideology.
You are under a misconception that what I'm saying is.
While the American Association of University Professors called the termination a gross violation of academic freedom, Governor Abbott said the instructor violated guidelines and is paying the price.
Professors that are higher education institutions, they have to follow the rules of the university. This professor clearly did not. They can't just go do whatever they want to do.
Parental A&M System Chancellor Glenn Hager has ordered an academic audit at each of its 12 campuses. All of this as the Texas Education Agency announced it would be investigating public school educators who shared material deemed inappropriate on social media regarding the death of Charlie Kirk. Okay, I'm going to go to one of my favorite fighting Texas Aggies, Paul Castro. Paul, what do you make of what unfolded up in College Station?
Well, we're in a different political reality right now, and I think anyone who is in public school system, university system, even private university system has to realize that if you're receiving federal dollars, that currently in this administration there's going to be a high degree of accountability around the rules that are being placed out there. And this professor decided not to do that. University President Welch was originally protecting the professor. A lot of pressure was being put on him by the system President Hagar to do something different, and now consequences are rolling out. So that's just reality. And so when I talk to people, I try to help people understand, like, I'm not trying to live in the world that should be. We're talking about where we are. And then if you disagree with that, there is a political process by which we can make a change. But right now, this is where we are, and it's important for people to understand context.
What's your take here, Chris?
Well, I agree with Paul that the political reality we're in is Texas A&M was facing losing federal funds because the president president would disagree with what that professor said, and the president could unilaterally say, we're taking away your federal funds, just like he did to Harvard and Princeton and everybody else that he disagreed with. And because of that, I think A&M had no choice but to take action under the political pressure that they were under. I don't know what the professor said. I couldn't hear it. But with TEA, I completely disagree with what the commissioner did, sending a letter to every superintendent in Texas saying that we're going to investigate people who are posting things on their private social media. I happen to be representing one teacher already, and I don't know how many I'm going to get inundated with under this new rule.
We were talking about in the break. Bill, is that appropriate to hold educators accountable for what they put on social media?
So in the A&M situation, she was an English professor. This was a children's literature class that she was teaching, and part of the material that the student was objecting to was this discussion about gender identity, which wasn't related to any like work of literature. And one of the things it said is that gender is not assigned at birth. Well, you know, every birth certificate obviously had an M or an F on it. So, and so that's why the student was pushing back on it. It was not in the course material. I don't know what relevance it has to children's literature. Now, if this had been a psychology course and you were trying to, you know, teach kids that were going to be doing psychology, that there was some gender confusion among some people, then it would be appropriate. But in this class, it made no sense whatever, and it just looked like it was a professor pushing her political agenda. And so I do think it's important. Now, I would have called her in and said, stop this before I just fired her, but the political situation we're in. On the teachers, I have a different view. And my view is this: if a teacher is out there, I don't care if it's on their private social media, and they say, I'm glad that Charlie Kirk got killed because he spoke hate and all that kind of stuff, I don't want that person teaching my kids, you know? And so I'm perfectly fine with getting rid of those people out of the school system.
And the teacher's response, you know, twisting the argument, turning it into my gender isn't illegal, that wasn't even the point. That's the kind of word game that drives people crazy. Because when someone raises a concern about age-appropriate content and it gets reframed as some kind of an attack on identity, that is not an honest conversation, folks. That's deflection, ladies and gentlemen. And what this student did was saying, you know, was just what she said wasn't radical. Okay, it was common sense, because schools, they are supposed to be about academics, ladies and gentlemen. If I sign up for a course, I expect the course description to match what's being taught. If it doesn't, there's a problem. And the parents, they send their kids to school to learn skills, reading, writing, science, critical thinking, not to be immersed in gender ideology that clashes with their family beliefs. No. And let us even talk about that for a second, because this is not about politics, folks. For a lot of families, this goes directly against their religious convictions. When you push materials that conflicts with deeply held faith values, and you do it without transparency, that's not inclusion. That's an overreach, you see? And while we're here arguing about gender theory in classrooms, other countries are investing heavily in technology, engineering, innovation. They're building the future, you see? And we are stuck debating whether biology is biologically true. That's actually embarrassing, folks. Yeah, and I even noticed something. When students speak up like this, the instinct from some in authority is to shame them, isolate them, to imply they are ignorant. And I've seen and read stories of students being told to leave lectures for holding conservative values. Some were even given zeros. Can you imagine? Standing up in a class and get humiliated for voting differently? Come on. That's not education, folks. That's actually ideological enforcement. Because college is supposed to be a place where ideas are challenged. All ideas. Keep an open mind, right? They say, if your mind opens in a direction they don't like, suddenly you are the problem. The double standard is exactly why more young people, they are starting to push back. And I will say this boldly, folks. If a teacher is bringing in explicit content that is nothing to do with the curriculum, and especially if it involves minors, there need to be consequences. Not a slap on the wrist, but real consequences. Because you don't get to experiment with children's minds.
Hello everyone and good morning. My name is Jaiden and I'm a freshman here at Esperanza High School, and I want to start by thanking everyone who came today to support and listen. This situation at our school has made a lot of students uncomfortable. Restrooms are supposed to be private and safe, but when a male student goes in a girl's restroom, it doesn't feel that way anymore. For the girls here, it creates stress and discomfort. As a brother, it is very hard for me to see my sister struggling with this, especially when I can't fix it for her. That's why I'm speaking up. I want her and all the other girls here to feel safe in a place that should be private. This isn't about hate, it's about respect. Respect means listening when students say they don't feel comfortable. Girls deserve to feel secure in their own restroom without worrying about who might walk in. That's why I'm here, to be a voice and to ask that our school make sure every student feels safe. Thank you again to everyone who came together. We can all make a difference.
Hello, I'm Leslie and I'm a junior here at Esperanza High School. And the reason why I started this walkout is because a couple weeks ago I went into our girls' bathroom and I saw that a male was in there. And I asked him why he was there, and he told me, oh, I identify as trans, I'm a girl. So I immediately reported it to the school admin, and I asked why there was a male in there, and then I reported it because I did not want boys to be in there. And then after that, they told me that they would review it with the district and they would act upon it. And they later told me that that student, the male, was allowed to go into the girls' bathroom. And that felt really unfair to me as a female. I felt vulnerable, and I just got scared because there's many cases where females have been taken advantage by males as they have a physical advantage over females. And because of that, I decided that I was not going to let what the district say keep allowing this injustice. So then I decided to start a walkout, and then I reached out to Sonia, Sophia, Leandra, and thankfully they all helped me here. And because of them, I was able to start this walkout. And I mean no harm to anyone. I do not advocate for violence. I just speak for the truth. And I hope that my voice can be heard as well as the voices of all the other girls in America, and that this can be the start to something great. Thank you.
Out to support because as a cousin, as Leslie's cousin, she was feeling unsafe, and I'm trying to make a change to make her feel safe here at school, which is a safe environment. And well, the school not doing anything about it is wrong because they're here to protect us. The government's here to protect our rights, and well, they're violating Title IX. And yeah, I just came here to support my cousin.
And me, as Leslie's brother, I do not feel very comfortable with this because every night she comes home and then she'll say how she's not feeling safe at school, and I don't want that for my sister, especially knowing when there's guys at teenage age where their mental health or their mind isn't there yet. They're going to girls' restrooms. I really don't think that's right, and not following Title IX is not correct.
Perfect. Good job, boys. Yeah.
And to add, I'm a Esperanza student, a senior. I came to support because this is a really important topic to me. I have 3 cousins, girls, and then 1 sister. This is really big for me because this is something extremely wrong. God made just man and a woman, and in my opinion, it's something we should put a stop to immediately.
Watching this, I actually felt something, folks. Hope. Yeah, because when I see young people standing up like that and speaking clearly, thinking things through and not just going along with whatever they are told, that actually tells me something important. It tells me that the next generation is not asleep. You see, and honestly, I think that matters more than people realize.
My name is Kaylee Wright. I have been playing volleyball in Arizona since I was 8 years old, both at the club and high school levels.
And through years of discipline and sacrifice, I earned the honor of becoming an NCAA Division I team captain at Utah State University. During my time there, our women's team was forced to compete against a team that had a male starter. This player had explosive athleticism and attacked with power that was clearly unmatched by any female athlete in the gym. The jumping ability and physicality of the male athlete was also far superior to anyone else's on the court. My teammates and I feared for our safety, and we were disheartened by the lack of fairness. Our basic right to a fair and safe competition was violated because the people who were meant to protect us decided that validating this individual's identity was more important. And let me be clear, bodies play sports, not identities.
Yeah.
The emotional toll this situation had on myself, my teammates, and the women across the conference is honestly too great to put into words. We were repeatedly dismissed and abandoned because our leaders were afraid to speak the truth. Men do not belong in women's spaces. Never have, never will. Only some 50 years ago, women fought for the passage of Title IX to have designated spaces and sports based on sex. They fought relentlessly to have equal opportunities and enjoy the privileges that come with and through education and participating in sport. As those women did before me, I stand before you today to plead for all of the girls and women in sport now and those to come. It is not fair, it is not safe, it is not right to rob us of the opportunities that sport provides by allowing biological males access to our spaces in sports. Reality matters, biology matters, and women matter. I urge your support for this bill, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for the speaker? Oh, you want a question?
Yeah, Madam Chair. I mean, I have my sports hat on now. It's all about a sports mentality, growing up in sports, being a tomboy. I mean, you look pretty healthy. I've played against girls that look like you. You look very much in shape and strong. But it's a sports mentality when you're growing up and how much competition that you'll take on. So it's not just a silver bullet for one community of sports players. It's the individual person on how competitive you want to be. So you grew up one way. I grew up a different way. I would have taken on a man in a heartbeat. I played I was the only girl sometimes in men's sports. But to have a man on my team, I would have welcomed it. But this is just my opinion. So it just depends on the sports mentality of that individual. And that's why this bill is bad, because you're just putting a whole community of women's sports in one category, when women like me, we have a different opinion. So how competitive do you think you really are?
Madam Chair, Senator, as elite level athletes, I would say we're very competitive, which is why this bill designates 3 categories: male, female, and co-ed. The idea is that everyone can participate in sport. If you want to compete against your man, absolutely. Let's do that in the co-ed section. That's the clarity and distinction is really important, because when men are allowed access into women's sports and spaces, it's not women's sports and spaces anymore. And as the passage of Title IX was so important, there is a need, a necessity to protect women's spaces. It's not to say that people are banned from sports. That's not the situation at all. If that's the level of competition you want to have for yourself, amazing, go try it in the co-ed section. But again, this is about protecting the women's category in women's sports.
Okay. Thanks for your opinion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's not her opinion. Those are facts.
There we go.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, my name is Ryan Tolman. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of HCR 2003, the Protect Girls Sports Referral. I'm a teacher and a coach at Perry High School in Gilbert and the club director of Aspire Volleyball, the largest volleyball club in Arizona, comprised of over 500 male and female athletes. The most basic issue here is safety. Biological males playing with females is dangerous and unfair. It risks not just lost opportunities for girls, but physical injuries. As a club director of nearly 300 girls playing volleyball, I see every day how invaluable the lessons learned from girls playing sports can be. I see them find their identities, locate safe spaces, and be themselves and do what they love. I watch them grow into leaders and learn to work with others. Boys invading that space immediately distracts from those moments. Most recently, the past weekend, our 17U team was competed against a biological male in a tournament in Boston. His mere presence on the court that day distracted our coaches, parents, and especially our players from focusing on doing their best that day. It was an extremely difficult situation for everyone involved. As a father of an 18-year-old daughter, I saw firsthand how her journey through the sport of volleyball developed a personality and a resolve that can only be found in sports. She is now a coach of young girls and has learned incredible lessons along the way that will make her an amazing mentor of the next generation of women, a future wife and a mother, and a leader in whichever career path she chooses. The developmental value of girls' sports is unmatched. The danger of allowing boys into that space not only distracts from that, but also eliminates opportunities otherwise occupied by girls. Women for generations have scratched and clawed for every ounce of equality they currently have, and we should honor that by defending their fight at all costs. Yes. Designating sports male, female, and co-ed assures fairness and safety while allowing everyone to participate. I urge your vote yes on HCR 2003. Thank you, and I'm available for questions.
Any questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sir, how many transgender students play sports in Arizona?
In the entire state of Arizona, I do not know that answer, Senator.
Why does that matter?
Part of Arizona, sir.
I do not know how many transgender athletes there are participating in Arizona.
Okay, so Madam Chair, so do you think it's a problem in Arizona?
Senator, I think that if there was one that was participating, then yes, it's a problem if they take away from the opportunity that these young ladies might otherwise have.
Okay, Madam Chair. Enough to create legislation on that one?
Yes. I think that if we're going to make legislation for the least of them, the women deserve that as well, and they've fought for that for a long, long time, and it doesn't matter how many there are, the legislation to protect that I think is extremely important.
Okay, and Madam Chair? Yes. Sir, so there's absolutely no data that you've seen that this is happening?
He saw it with his own eyes.
Senator, I don't know that data is the right term. I've seen it firsthand. I mean, the numbers don't reflect people, and I've seen young women injured by males participating in their sport. I've seen the damage that can be done mentally and emotionally. Like I said, just this last weekend, some of our females had to compete against a biological male, and it changed their entire day of competition because they were solely focused on the male on the other side instead of trying to do what they were supposed to do that day.
Okay, so final comment. There's actually 7 out of 170,000 in Arizona, a fraction of 1%. So you could take that data with you now.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Senator Mesnard.
I just want to understand Senator Miranda's point. She asked if it's a problem. Is the idea that it's not a problem because it's a small number, and if it were a larger number, it would be a problem?
Good question.
No, Madam Chair, if it's such a small number, does it have to be legislation?
Again, Madam Chair, so does that mean the issue is whether we need legislation because we haven't crossed a threshold, but if we cross a threshold, some threshold in your mind, that you would be supportive?
No.
No, so it's not about the number then. It's not a problem whether it's 7 or 700. Is that?
Madam Chair, I would just like to see speakers prepared on what they are supporting, and if you have no data to support it, and that was my point.
He saw it with his own eyes.
Your questions later, and maybe create some more legislation.
Senator Miranda, Madam Chair, if I may, Senator Miranda, you didn't bother to ask those that were against the bill if they had any data. So I'm not sure why the data matters. I've seen it happen, and like Senator Mesnard said, the numbers are irrelevant. What's relevant is that it's affecting these young women in their spaces, and we're here to try to fight that and protect that.
Madam Chair, I'd be more than happy to ask the opposition about data as well.
We always hear this idea that kids are just going to follow whatever culture pushes on them, like that they are easily influenced, that they would just accept everything without question. But yeah, partly true, but what I'm seeing here is actually the complete opposite. And I'm seeing young people who are looking at what's happening around them and saying, hold on, this doesn't make sense. You see? And they are not just complaining, they are actually standing up. They are speaking out. Can you imagine? Yeah, they are willing to deal with the pressure that comes with going against the crowd. At that age, that is not easy, folks. Especially at that age, to be honest. Because let us be real. When you're young, the last thing that you want is to be singled out. Yeah, you don't want to be the one everyone is looking at, the one everyone is criticizing. It's much easier actually to stay quiet. So when I see kids stepping forward anyway, I respect that like a lot. Yeah. But hey folks, at the same time, I also can't ignore the bigger picture, because part of me is thinking, why are they the ones who are doing this in the first place? Like, where are the adults? Because if we are being honest here, it shouldn't fall on kids to defend the basic common sense. It shouldn't be their job to push back against policies that clearly raises serious concerns. You see, that's supposed to be handled by the leaders, the institutions, by the people who are in charge. Come on. And when that doesn't happen, when things get so out of balance that young people feel they have to step in themselves, that says a lot about where things have gone wrong. Absolutely. Yeah, and yes, even the flip side, even in that failure, at least something strong is being built, right? Because these kids, they are learning early how to think independently. They are learning how to stand firm under pressure. They are learning that just because something is popular, it doesn't mean it is right. And those are powerful lessons, to be honest.
I'd like to have Shay come up and tell the story. It's an amazing story. Shay, please come up.
Thank you again, Mr. President. Hi, I'm Shane Cetus. I've been a Christian my whole life, and Jesus means everything to me. When I was in 5th grade, my school forced me to teach my kindergarten buddy about changing his gender using a book called My Shadow is Pink. The book said you can choose your gender based on feelings instead of how God made us. I knew this was not right, but I was afraid of getting in trouble. After my family spoke up, the school treated us badly, and kids started bullying me and my brother because of our faith. And the school did nothing to stop it. It hurt a lot, but I kept trusting God. I believe kids like me should be able to live our faith at school without being forced to go against what we believe. I hope no other family has to go through what mine did. Thank you.
Thank you, Shay. Great job. That was delivered well, wasn't it? On day one of my administration, I signed an executive order to slash federal funding for any school that pushes transgender insanity on our youth.
Okay, now please listen to the whole story behind this beautiful speech.
Hi, my name is Carlos Encinas. My wife Jenny and I, we have 2 boys, ages 11 and 9, and wanted to share an experience we had just last week with our oldest. So we learned that in his 5th grade class, his 5th grade teacher read a book called My Shadow is Pink.
Dad's shadow is blue. It is big. It is strong. But when I stand with it, I just feel so wrong. My heart skips a beat
Lord help us.
as I put on a dress.
Your shadow is pink. I see now, it's true. It's not just a shadow, it's your innermost you. So stand up with your shadow and yell, "This is me!" And some, they will love you, and some, they will not. But those that do love you, they'll love you a lot.
He went on to say, yeah, we read this book in class, the 5th grade class, and then we had to go to our buddy class, which is kindergartners, age 5, and we had to sit down with them, and then we watched a video of the same book being narrated in a video format.
His shadow loves dance with its turns and its twirls. Her shadow, she hides it. Her shadow likes girls.
I hoped that my buddy wouldn't understand it, what any of it meant. We both thought that it's not okay that they're showing this to kindergartners. And after, we had to do an activity where they drew a shadow with their favorite color. I never asked if I could opt out, but I mean, because I didn't want to get in trouble or anything.
And that's really what made him uncomfortable, was he's got this buddy. They pair the 5th graders, 11-year-olds, with kindergartners, age 5, as part of a mentorship where they can, first time at school. And these older brothers, older sisters are buddies with them throughout the entire school year. They spend between a half hour and an hour each week together.
Actually, nice.
What's most concerning is the school is using our child to disseminate this information to someone that is clearly looking up to them, a 5-year-old. So we wrote the 5th grade teacher. We asked the how and the why, and that response is actually even more concerning. The response was, well, this is just an exercise in colors. The buddies are just playing with, their shadows and asking what color their shadows are, and it's not gender identification, it has nothing to do with that.
It's not just a shadow, it's your innermost you.
We're clearly in disagreement on that, but we want parents to be aware, and the fact that they're using kids to teach other kids. There is a weekly recap that we get from our specific 5th grade class, and for whatever reason, they did not include discussion on this book. Kind of a hidden agenda. I would encourage every family to start asking questions and start sharing the facts that they have, because together,
yes, sir,
we can make a difference.
When I look at this whole situation, I can't help but feel like something is seriously wrong at the top. And I'm talking about the leadership, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about the adults who are supposed to protect the kids. Because when very young kids are exposed to heavy, confusing topics without parents clearly knowing what's going on, that's not just a small mistake. No, that is literally a breach of trust.
Keep the chatter to a minimum. It's affecting my ability to focus. Thank you.
Thank you, comrade. Okay, is there a speaker against name, chapter, pronoun?
Point of personal privilege.
Yes.
Please do not use gendered language to address everyone.
Comrade had when they spoke about the trauma, I would like to ask people to please use trigger warnings.
Thank you. I would ask the same.
Hi, my name is Erica. I use they, them pronouns. I'm from Lincoln, Nebraska.
Go ahead.
Cassandra, she, her, from Metro DC. People are really crowding the aisles.
Okay.
It'd be really nice if we could limit it to like 6 people for and 6 people against, actually standing up so that we can actually see what's going on in the room.
Thank you, comrade.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Yessie. My pronouns are they, them, and I'm part of the San Diego chapter.
Comrade?
Point of privilege. I also ask that the safety considerations that were mentioned earlier by the comrade of having the aisles filled with people be respected.
Point of privilege. Well, my pronouns are Persian and princess, or should I identify as a Persian cat? It's all the rage.
Son does identify as a cat, but I cannot take him to a vet because I tried that, and the veterinarian told me that because he has human anatomy, that he does not know how to work on him or diagnose him with anything, and he legally cannot. So, and while I do think that is a form of discrimination, because, my son, if he says he's a cat, he is a cat. And he needs to be treated like that, like one, But I'm not going to press charges because I know that he could lose his license if I if he did work on my son. So I'm not gonna try to sue him or anything, so don't worry. But this is something that I want to raise awareness on, because I do think that people that identify as an animal should be able to go to the vet. You know, that's the medical attention that they're wanting. And so I really do appreciate you asking this question. I think it's an important topic that we discuss, because if we don't, we're never going to make progress. And these people that identify as cats are going to have to continue going to human doctors.
It's becoming impossible to figure out what's real and what's parody. I don't know, but I've got to tell you, I'm starting to feel like this guy.
From now on, I identify as a paper straw because nobody wants me. I'm horrible at my job, and I can't function for longer than 5 minutes without completely breaking down. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Julia. You know my pronouns are they, them. How are you doing?
Yeah. Thank you for telling me your pronouns. I use correct grammar, so the only thing I would need to refer you to is to your face would be you. But I'm not being rude. You can choose your pronouns. You can choose what you want to call yourself, but you don't get to require me to use incorrect grammar and factually incorrect things. You're not a plural. You're a one person, and you're a female person. So I will use she and her. Thank you very much.
Do what you like, I guess.
Well, there you are. You didn't need to tell me then, did you?
Maybe I'm just making sure people know in case they're watching and they want to refer to me respectfully.
Is it disrespectful for me to use correct factual grammar?
It's not incorrect or unfactual grammar to use singular they them pronouns for an individual. But we're here to talk about the cast review.
We are, but you chose to bring it up.
You chose to use the incorrect pronouns for me.
I chose to use the correct pronouns for a single woman who is appearing on my show.
I'm not a single woman, though. I'm a very special non-binary trans person, as you just pointed out. I
didn't
really
just point that out.
In the crowd.
I didn't just point that out. I introduced you as a journalist and a Virgin Radio presenter.
No, just before I came on, you were talking about how people with all these labels like to be special. And I'm just making sure that everyone knows I'm special.
Oh, love, you ain't special. You're just a giant irritating pain in the butt. And talking about irritating self-delighted lefties, let's have a look at MSNBC's Nicole Wallace, whose Trump derangement syndrome is causing her to sound a little bit fascist.
So you believe his policies, just what he said out loud, let alone what he does if he's there again, are catastrophic, that his foreign policy that he carried out while you were there was corrupt. What is your plan for making sure he's never president?
What is your plan for making sure Trump is never president? Yikes, lady. We normally let the people decide. That's how democracy works. Or does it? Let's get a definition from the Veep. Take it away, Kamala.
It's important to see that, the nature of democracy, there's a duality to it. It has two sides to it. On the one hand, there's incredible strength, right? That when a democracy is intact, what it does for its people, in terms of the strength it gives its people and protects in terms of individual freedoms and rights, right? And liberties. There's an incredible strength in that, what it does for its people when it is intact. On the other hand, democracy, extraordinarily fragile.
Yeah.
It's only as strong as our willingness to fight for it. That's by nature what a democracy is. It is about the people.
The most incoherent person in the White House, and that includes the 80-year-old with obvious cognitive decline. Now, this clip I call instant karma. He is a Berkeley professor. He gets a taste of his own medicine, a taste of the craziness leftist academics have unleashed on society. He invited law students to his home, and then they refused to leave, started doing a protest and calling everyone Zionists.
Not only from material sustenance, not only from material sustenance. We have attorneys. We have attorneys.
Okay, you don't have to get aggressive.
Excuse me.
Please
leave
our house.
You
are guests at our house.
This is our First Amendment right.
No,
this is my house.
Now let's enjoy this classic from Army Horowitz, who'll be joining me in a second. He talked to some lefty folk who seem to think black people are too poor or too stupid to get ID. What a wildly racist point of view, but it's one that has been normalised by the Democrats. Watch this clip for the liberal white folk perspective, followed by black folk who know better.
Do you have an opinion on voter ID laws?
Yeah, they're usually pretty racist and they're bad. I think voter ID laws are a way to perpetuate racism.
Do you think it suppresses the African American vote?
Definitely, because they're less likely to have state IDs.
You can always get IDs you do over the internet. Does that also make it difficult for black people in particular?
Yeah, you have to have access to the internet. You have to be able to pay an internet service provider for certain fees.
Do you think that's harder for black people to go online?
Well, I feel like they don't have the knowledge of how it works.
Now I'm here in East Harlem to ask black people their thoughts on what you just heard. Do you carry ID?
Yes, I do.
Do you know any black person who doesn't carry ID?
No. Why would they think we don't have ID?
That's a lie. Why would they say that?
Do you have ID?
Yes.
Everybody that I know have ID. Like, that's one of the things you need to walk around with New York with.
Do you have a problem if when you go to vote, if they say, could we please just see your ID to make sure you are who you say you are? Do you have an issue with that?
No.
Little kids are being put into positions where they're expected to process ideas that even many adults struggle to understand. That doesn't sit right with me. Absolutely not. I keep thinking about, how does this even happen, ladies and gentlemen? Because these are grown professionals. These are the administrators. These are the teachers who understand influence. You see? Who understand authority. And for me, ladies and gentlemen, the biggest issue is transparency. You see? Because if something is being taught, parents, they have the right to know. Period. You see? They shouldn't be loopholes. There shouldn't be technicalities like, well, we didn't directly say it or say that. I mean, if the system sets it up, the system is responsible. You don't get to hide behind clever weddings while families feel blindsided. And let's be honest, ladies and gentlemen, when older kids are used to pass certain messages down to the younger ones, that literally feels intentional. That feels like a strategy. It feels like a way to distance the adults from the content while making sure the content is spreading. You see? That's where people start using words like manipulation or indoctrination. Because when it looks coordinated, it feels coordinated. That's just the bottom line. And it's crazy, ladies and gentlemen. And you know, what hits me, is the age factor. Because we are talking about very young little ones here. These are the kids who should be focused on learning basic reading skills, how to be kind, how to share, how to play, because they are still forming their understanding of the world. Period. And introducing complex identity discussions at that age feels overwhelming to a lot of families, actually. And I understand why emotions are running very high. Because when it comes to children, ladies and gentlemen, especially their innocence, people are protective, very protective. That's not political. That's just instinct, you know. And once parents feel like that innocence is being chipped away without their consent, it becomes a serious issue. Yeah, and there's a growing sense that it's not just one isolated incident. No, many people feel like this is part of a broader shift in education. To be honest, whether that perception is fully accurate or not, the feeling is real. And the feeling drives action. Yeah, that's why some families, they're pulling their kids out of the public schools. Yeah, and that's why others are considering homeschooling. Trust is everything in education, ladies and gentlemen. Make no mistake about it. Because once it cracks, it's actually harder to repair. You see? And what's interesting, even some individuals who personally identify within the community, they have said that, the alphabet community, they've said that some of them, that young children might not be ready for this level of conversion or conversation. And that tells me this isn't just a partisan divide, because for many, it's about timing, ladies and gentlemen. It's about developmental readiness. It's about protecting childhood from child-level complexity. You see? And when there is a legal side, ladies and gentlemen, when people start talking about lawsuits, investigations, firings, that tells you how serious they believe this is. You see, they don't see it as a misunderstanding. No, they see it as wrongdoing that requires consequences. Absolutely. Check out how a school board tries to silence a 14-year-old girl at a board meeting, but she doesn't let it happen.
Reset the time.
Gentlemen, reset the time,
What's
gentlemen.
wrong with you people?
There's a young lady coming here.
Afraid.
Don't come at me. Everybody stops. Don't come at me. Don't come at me because you're out of order.
Reset her time. Be a gentleman.
All you gotta do is reset her time.
A little courtesy.
Reset my time.
Well, you guys are digging a hole.
Snowflakes.
At the last meeting, I sat in astonishment as Superintendent Roberts tried to gaslight us regarding public comments at these meetings. He told us how important it was that everyone speaking felt listened to by this board, regardless if the board hears things they disagree with. Oh, the hypocrisy, especially after most of this board walked out while I was addressing you at the August meeting. Then, this board's lawyer, Mr. Collins, tried to set rules regarding the content of people's speeches, but also claimed the idea wasn't to censor people. Newsflash, Mr. Collins, your rules are the very definition of censorship. Apparently, this board is not familiar with the U.S. Constitution, so I've given each of you a copy. Please note the First Amendment on page 21, which clearly states there shall be no rules abridging freedom of speech. Additionally, the people have the right to air grievances to the government. If you don't want people to refer to you as groomers and pedophiles, then follow state and federal laws and remove the sexually graphic books from your school libraries. Appeasing immorality by claiming acceptance and inclusion is not a valid argument. Claiming the books can be obtained online, no, it is my First Amendment right, and you have taken my time, so I reclaim that time back. Let me speak. I reclaim my time back. I am going to continue. Not a valid argument. Claiming that removing the contested books is banning them is not a valid argument. There are no valid arguments for violating laws or infringing on constitutional rights. A quote by Wendy Jaiden states, "An environment that is not safe to disagree in is not an environment focused on growth. It is an environment focused on control." Board members, keep in mind that come the next election, parents will have the control. You've been exposed.
Amen.
Yeah.
And ladies and gentlemen, let us be clear here. None of this confusion is accidental. No, you don't get to a point where books for toddlers talk about changing genders unless a whole community is falling asleep at the wheel. That is the whole truth. She wasn't shouting She wasn't casing. She didn't even threaten nobody. She just told the truth as is. Cut so deep that people immediately, they recognize it whenever they hear truth. The deepest level, this is a spiritual warfare, ladies and gentlemen. Because children have always been the target whenever a society starts losing its way. You see, even scripture shows us the moment a culture turns from God, confusion becomes the norm, especially around identity, family, and the protection of the young. It's crazy, it's terrible, it's evil, it's maniac, it's disgusting, ladies and gentlemen. And what blows my mind is how parents are now being forced to step up and to say things that should have been obvious, since even in Genesis, male and female, He created them. Not 58 options, not choose your own adventure. God wasn't confused when He met us. No, but the enemy thrives on confusion. That's what he does. Because confused people, they are always easy to control. You see, you can see exactly what's happening here. Take away a child's innocence, steer in a little doubt, and suddenly they are questioning reality itself. And yet somehow, the school boards, the librarians, the administrators, these people believe they have the right to parent your children better than you. It's terrible. It's crazy. I love watching videos like this when mothers, parents, fathers rise up and say, we will not surrender our children. Because honestly, that's the attitude we all need. Because if parents stop handing their kids over to this madness, and if schools start losing funding because families are pulling out, trust me, these institutions will suddenly remember what reality is, because their paycheck seems to be more sacred to them than any ideology, Yeah, it's all about money. This is why we need more parents who are willing to stand up in front of the microphone and speak the truth, even though it may be unpopular, because the enemy works in confusion, and the moment someone speaks the truth boldly, it exposes the darkness.
I know that signing a mental or religious exemption is not the right thing to do because I'm not mentally ill nor extremely religious. At 12 to 14 years old, we should be busy being kids, not worried about being forced to change in front of biological males or attach a label to ourselves for being uncomfortable with it.
Wow, so in case you didn't know, the Temecula Valley Unified School District board members voted on a policy allowing biological boys to use girls' bathrooms and locker room. And on top of it, they are trying to force young girls into signing a mental health accommodation if they disagree with the policy. Pretty evil. God bless these young ladies for their courage.
Do we have any student comments at this time?
Okay, first up is Kylie, followed by Brooklyn.
Hi, I'm Kyla Wool. I was one of the girls who spoke at the previous school board meeting with my friend. I want to start by thanking Dr. K and Ms. Wiersma. Their support has given me the confidence to speak on an issue that matters deeply to me. Many of the girls at school feel the same way as Brooklyn and I. We don't want to change in front of a biological male and don't want to label ourselves as mental or religiously extreme. I know that signing a mental or religious exemption is not the right thing to do because I'm not mentally ill nor extremely religious. Students shouldn't be forced to justify their feelings with a mental or religious label in order for their privacy to be respected. At 12 to 14 years old, we should be busy being kids, not worried about being forced to change in front of biological males or attach a label to ourselves for being uncomfortable with it. This has consumed our lives for over a month now, and we're looking to you to help us girls feel seen and protected. So we won't stop until the school board has a better solution other than this accommodation form that mislabels us as something we're not. Even though I just turned 13, I'm smart enough to know that wanting this privacy amongst my own sex shouldn't require a mental or religious form to make me feel comfortable. I hope you consider never putting forth policies like this again, and we just want to be kids and have our innocence protected. Thank you.
you.
Forgive me if I pronounce that wrong.
Hi, my name is Brooklyn Hendricks, and I spoke at the last board meeting. Today, I would like to bring to attention the fact that the solutions that have been proposed are not working, and there needs to be a change. I would like to make it clear that this is not against any specific person, and it isn't political, nor is it religious. This should just be common sense. As of right now, we are going into locker rooms in waves. This is causing us to only have around 10 to 15 minutes of PE in total. Therefore, this is not a good solution. Falsely signing something saying that we are mentally ill or extremely religious is an even worse solution. This can hurt young girls' self-esteem and cause problems that weren't there before. Instead, I ask you to consider better solutions, such as creating separate locker rooms filled with privacy stalls, not only for trans students, but anyone who is uncomfortable changing in front of people. This solution will help everyone who is uncomfortable for any reason. Thank you.
When I watch this unfold, the first thing that stands out to me is the sheer frustration directed at the school board. Not just mild disagreement, but real outrage, ladies and gentlemen. Because a lot of people, they feel like the adults in charge completely missed something that should have been obvious. And that's a fact. Because at the center of all of this is privacy, ladies and gentlemen, especially for the girls.
Hi, my name is Brooklyn Ribeiro, and I go to James L. Day Middle School, and I would like to talk about the start of change and privacy for all. I first want to say, no one at my school hates a transgender student, and we do not support any hate or homophobic comments made about anyone. We love and support her decision to transition. We are protesting for change, not against her. We believe there are better solutions than signing a mental health form. For example, adding curtains or more changing stalls to the locker room, or creating a gender-neutral locker room, not just for transgender students, but also for every other boy and girl who have body dysmorphia or are severely uncomfortable changing in front of people. These are all better solutions than having us falsely sign forms saying we are mentally ill or extremely religious. I hope you take these plans into consideration and hear our voices. Thank you for your time.
Last speaker is Alina.
Hello, my name is Elena Resto, and I'm a student at TVUSD. I would like to discuss the issue with having biological males in a female locker room. To begin with, locker rooms involve undressing, showering, and intimate personal care. This means that females are in a very physically vulnerable state. Sharing these spaces between male and females can lead to discomfort, embarrassment, and a loss of personal dignity, especially for minors or individuals from conservative or religious backgrounds. Even if no harm is intended, the mere presence of someone of the opposite sex can cause distress to others. Sex-segregated locker rooms are a long-standing norm because they respect physical boundaries and social expectations surrounding modesty, especially in environments where people are exposed or undressed. If the biological male is highly affected by changing in the male's locker room, then they should be offered different accommodations, such as a non-binary locker room or the option to change at the nurse's office. This will help both the females that are uncomfortable with males in their space and the trans students that are uncomfortable changing in their designated locker rooms. I say no more. No more putting minor females in adult situations. No more biological males in our locker room.
So do you go to this school, James Day Middle School?
Yes.
And how do you feel about boys going into your locker rooms?
I feel disrespected thinking that, personally, like, we're biological females and any guy can just say he's a female and get into the locker room and never know what can happen.
Yeah.
It's very common and you don't know who you're in there with when you're taking off your pants. It's just very you have to be conserved in that locker room because you're naked. That's what everyone knows. And nobody's doing anything about it, so I guess we had to fight for it.
Thank you.
All right, boys. Why are you here today, and why should we protect girls in the bathrooms, locker rooms, and sports?
For fairness. For fairness.
Fairness?
I'm here to support my friends because they're suffering from a transgender guy that has a men's, and the woman should not be doing that because it belongs to the women's locker room. I don't think it's all right. It's not good.
I feel like women have the right to be disgusted if a boy is changing in their girls' locker room.
Yeah.
Amen. God bless this young man for standing up for what is right. And of course, this is happening in California. And we have lunatics out there pushing for this man, Gavin Newsom, to be our next president.
For many families, locker rooms, restrooms, they are basic boundaries. Come on. They see those spaces as sensitive, personal, not political. You see? But when policies starts requiring students to sign forms, can you imagine? Disclose personal beliefs, attach mental health labels just to maintain privacy. That's where good people feel the line has been crossed. And I keep thinking about how strange that even sounds to an average parent. Just imagine you are telling a young girl she has to declare herself mentally unwell or cite religious reasons just to feel safe changing clothes. That feels backward, folks. Yeah, it does to a lot of people. It's like gaslighting or something. Like common sense is being reframed into intolerance. It's crazy. And what also struck with many observers is the courage of the students speaking up. Yeah, you could feel the pride, young women standing at a podium articulating their beliefs calmly and confidently. That takes guts, because public speaking, can be intimidating, So doing it in front of the officials who may not agree with you is another level. Yeah, it's powerful, you see. And also seeing some little boys are standing alongside the girls in support. For some, that symbolizes mutual respect. Young men saying, we want you to feel protected. That's beautiful. And that moment resonated, with a lot of viewers. I agree. I definitely believe that. It gives hope, that the next generation isn't as divided as adults sometimes make it seem. You see? But there is the other side, folks. The board members. It feels like these board members, they look unmoved, detached, almost dismissive. You see? And when you look at that, it almost intensifies anger. Because when citizens show up passionately and the response appears cold, procedural, it fuels the belief that the leadership is not even listening. You see? And the big theme here, folks, is common sense over and over. Yeah, and the reaction boils down to, why is this even a debate to begin with? For many families, separate spaces based on biological sex was never a controversial thing before. So when it suddenly becomes complicated policy language and legal maneuvering, I feel like something simple has been unnecessarily disrupted. And folks, these are not even kids in colleges or universities. No, they're younger than that. Isn't that crazy? And there's also the legal concern woven throughout. Some people, they believe forcing minors into mental health declarations or privacy waivers, it crosses illegality. Yeah, and even talk about federal funding, lawsuits, recalls, even criminal accountability. That tells you how deeply people feel their children's rights are being infringed upon. And this isn't just about one policy, it's about trust, ladies and gentlemen. Parents are asking, are school boards representing families, or are they pushing ideological frameworks? That's a very valid question. Are they protecting the kids or experimenting with social theories?
Yo, I cannot believe this happened in Texas. They allowed a Muslim organization to promote Sharia law to students at a public school. God bless this young man and these parents for speaking up.
Next up is Leland Saunders from Farmersville.
Good evening, members of the school board. My name is Leland Saunders, and I'm a 12-year-old resident of Farmersville, Texas. I understand that the outside organization was approved to be on campus. However, I am concerned about the religious material that were handed out to students during the lunch period. The following materials were handed out: hijabs, Qurans, and Sharia law pamphlets. Public schools serve students from many different religious backgrounds and students who have no religious beliefs at all. Because of that, I believe our schools must remain neutral when it comes to religious promotion during the school day. Even if participation was voluntary, handing out religious texts and items during school hours raises questions about whether that crosses the line from education into religion. That is something many families, including mine, are uncomfortable with. If one religious organization is allowed to distribute materials, would every religious or ideological group be given the same opportunity? If so, how will that be managed fairly? If not, how is that even equal treatment? This is not about criticizing any specific religion. This is about maintaining neutrality, fairness, and a religious boundary from education and religion. I respectfully ask the board to clarify the guidelines regarding outside groups and religious materials, and to ensure that policies are applied consistently moving forward. Thank you for your time.
On February 6th, I filed a Freedom of Information request regarding the incident that happened at Wiley East High School. I requested the names, times, dates, photography, and any additional extensive details regarding the incident that occurred. And what I received back was appalling. I received a photo from this district of the information and the materials that were handed out. Among these things were hijabs, information about Sharia law, candy, and bags about why Islam. Let's be abundantly clear for a second. When you send your kid to a public school in the state of Texas, you expect your kid to be educated, not indoctrinated.
That's right.
And first and foremost, I also want to state that this district experienced a dereliction of duty. A dereliction, not just a dereliction, but complete complicity. Because we still don't have answers as to how 4 individuals walked through a school with boxes and bags of materials. Nobody questions them. Among that, inside of a cafeteria where administrators and teachers are present, there was nobody that put a stop to it. And so when we talk about complicity, allowing these 4 people to come through this school without asking any questions as to who they are, where they're from, or why they're coming through the school is a problem. If you want to talk about ESAs and declining enrollment and school choice, the reason why people in Texas are removing their children from public schools is because of stuff like this. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you will be held accountable, whether that be through an election or a recall. We're going to make sure that you guys are held accountable.
Right. Yeah. America is a Christian nation.
Amen.
The principal, 1 year ago, the principal on the same day, World Hijab Day, wore that hijab and said she loved it, all caps. 1 year to the day later, on World Hijab Day, Sunday, Monday hits, they're putting our girls in Sharia. They're passing out Sharia pamphlets, hijabs, Qurans, understanding Islam. Understanding Sharia. Sharia treats half of this room like. And these women are not. This is not a Muslim nation. This is a Christian nation. That principal knew what she was doing. And I am not believing that was one or two people at that front desk. Fire the principal. You tell the parents, don't go online to get information. But what did they get online? Marco told the truth. That's where they got the information, and you did. Online. Telling us not to go there. This was dawah. Muslim proselytizing. Dawah. It's like me as a Christian going into a school and witnessing to these kids. You want me to do that? Let's go.
Are you grooming children for Islam?
Yes.
They are.
Yes.
If so, all of you resign.
Now.
Because this is just wrong, guys. It's wrong on every level. The fact that there was a battle to help the student who spoke out and was brave enough to say, I need help, that were brought in a room full of adults to have to defend the kid. Y'all should have stepped up from the start, and you didn't, and that's wrong. To stop the grooming, stop the indoctrination, go back to basic teaching, protect these children, go back to teaching, not the indoctrination, get away from the grooming. It's so bad. I've been going to these meetings for a while. Most of the time it's about the inappropriate relationships with students and teachers. But now we're battling this. Seriously, guys, step up or step out.
I'm going to be honest. When I see stuff like this happening in public schools, it doesn't even feel like education anymore, ladies and gentlemen. It feels like something else entirely. And that's what even bothers me, that schools are supposed to be about reading, writing, math, science, the basics, teaching kids how to think, not what to think. And yet somehow we keep ending up in situations where parents are asking what is actually going on inside these classrooms.
That should have never happened. Y'all failed as a board and as a school that these groups came in here and did what they did. Y'all need to step your game up. And not only protect the kids and the staff in this school, but we're going to do everything in our damn power to protect the sovereignty of Texas with our Judeo-Christian values.
What concerns me even more about all of this is that it wasn't the first time that the school had participated in Hijab Day. That is a Floridian split there. Photos from last year's surfaced showing the principal of Wiley East High School wearing a hijab during the school's observance of the event. On Tuesday, February 3rd, the district released a statement claiming that it was unaware of how the outside Islamic organization, White Islam, was able to enter the campus and set up a table. That explanation raises serious concerns about campus security. Parents trust that when they drop their children off at school, they are entering a secure and properly supervised environment. According to the district's own statement, an outside organization was able to distribute religious materials during lunch without proper authorization or oversight. How was this allowed to happen in such a visible area of the school near the cafeteria? The situation appears to be a clear failure to follow established procedures. Additionally, given the surface's images of the principal on that day, I believe she needs to be removed. At the heart of this all is three concerns: campus security, proper adherence to district policy, equal treatment under the law. Parents deserve transparency, accountability, and assurance that established policies will be consistently enforced moving forward. And I do have a picture of the February 5th of 2025. Guys, this is unreal. But guys, we've got to do something for our students. She needs to be held accountable.
And what you have done, though, is created an atmosphere of intimidation, bullying, and fear within not only the parents, the students, but also the teachers and staff, which is why I've had way more staff and teachers come and talk to me in the last 2 weeks since this has happened that I would hope that, but I probably would bet more than many of you, because they're afraid. Why are they afraid? Because they'll get fired or have their position eliminated. And when you have teachers and staff that are told to remove their Bibles or their crosses from their classrooms or offices, and then you allow something like this to happen, that isn't right. And that's why the fear in there. And that's why when you ask why parents went to the news or went to the internet and didn't come to you directly, it's because we know what happens when we come to you directly. It's what's happened to me multiple times over the last 6 years, is that I'm told that I'm lying, or we're told it didn't happen, or it's swept under the rug quickly so that it doesn't get anything happening. Shame. And you should be ashamed of yourselves. Thank you.
Now, please listen to this.
Time in Wiley, people there demanding answers tonight from district leaders regarding a religious group recently handing out Islamic faith materials to students at Wiley East High School. That incident went viral on social media 2 weeks ago. The district tonight says policies were not properly followed, and they told our Aaron Jones that changes are going to be made.
Good.
Because this is just wrong, guys. It's wrong on every level.
At Tuesday's school board meeting, it was a packed house. Many attendees questioning how the outside organization Why Islam was able to set up a table on campus during school hours earlier this month without district approval. In a viral video, the president of the school's Republican club describes what he says he saw.
And they were giving jobs to girls out throughout the high school, and they were giving out Qurans, and they also had pamphlets about Sharia law.
Wiley East student Camden Campbell is here with his father.
When I found out, it was pretty shocking.
My main concern is kind of the same as his. It was basically, how did they get in and then come back and say, well, we didn't know what they had. The other side of it was the Sharia law pamphlets.
Members of the Islamic community also sharing their thoughts.
I don't think anybody was converting them into Islam. This has gone so blown out of proportion, and it's just the current environment we're in.
It's disheartening. You know, our kids go to school wanting to go to a safe space, wanting to be taught and loved just as any other student.
The district says the Why Islam visitors checked in through the front office and were processed through their screening system, but a staff member didn't verify that the required guest speaker approval process had been completed. The staff member was placed on leave pending an investigation. Wiley ISD now also updating club procedures, including replacing the guest speaker form with a new outside visitor approval form to keep record of all visitors to clubs and organizations. The club sponsor will meet the visitor in the front office and escort the visitor to and from the meeting location.
We will have a few, things that we will take care of and adjust, but we're going to earn your trust back, and I'm sorry that happened.
Accountability. That's the only thing.
And tonight there were no action items on the agenda related to this incident. We did hear from a spokesperson for the district who gave us an update on the investigation and says the review process has concluded and additional action is being taken. However, because this is a personnel matter, we are unable to share specific details. In Wiley, Aaron Jones, CBS News, Texas.
A lot of people, they are just fed up, Not like a little frustration, fed up, because it feels like every time parents turn around, there's another controversy all the time. Another policy, another event, another outside the group being allowed into the schools. And parents are left wondering who approved this, who signed off on it, who decided this was appropriate. Because, ladies and gentlemen, many of us, this isn't about the small differences in opinion anymore. It actually feels bigger than that. It feels like a trust issue. Parents, they trust schools with their children every single day. That's a big deal, folks. And when that trust feels broken, people, they react strongly. That's natural, ladies and gentlemen. And I keep hearing the same thing over and over again. If public schools are supposed to be neutral when it comes to religion, then that standard should apply equally across the board. No favoritism, no exceptions. If we are saying faith-based materials, they don't belong in public classrooms, then that principle has to be consistent, right? Otherwise, it feels selective, folks. And when it feels selective, people, they start asking the hard questions. That's just normal. And another major concern people have is outside organizations being allowed on campus. And the parents, they are asking, why are individuals who are not staff, who aren't faculty, who aren't part of the school system, interacting directly with the students? Who vetted them? Who ensured parents were informed? Because transparency matters, especially when minors are involved. This is not college. If it was college, it would have been a different case. If it was the university, it would have been a different case. But these are the minors, you see? And there's also the leadership issue. When something controversial happens, ladies and gentlemen, people want accountability. All right, let me just say this straight. Watching this, it honestly fires me up, ladies and gentlemen, because I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, how do we get to a point where the little ones, they have to stand up and remind adults what reality is? You see, because I'm looking at these young students and I'm thinking to myself, these are the ones who are showing courage. These are the ones who are speaking clearly, and somehow the people in authority are the ones who are acting confused, ladies and gentlemen. That should never be the case, right? Because adults are supposed to lead. Adults are supposed to protect. But what I'm seeing here is the complete opposite. Because I'm seeing kids who are choosing to step up because the grown-ups in the room, they're fair to do their job, you see? And I'm going to be honest, ladies and gentlemen. I respect these young people a lot. I really do. Because it takes guts, make no mistake about it, it takes guts to stand there, to speak truth and not to back down, especially when you know the system is against you. That's not easy, ladies and gentlemen. Because even most adults, they wouldn't even do that. Most adults will just stay quiet, to avoid trouble. But these kids, they're saying what needs to be said. And the crazy part to me is that they're saying what they're saying isn't something that's complicated. It's basic common sense. You see, it's the kind of truth that people understood for thousands of years without needing to have a debate. You see, without needing a panel. You see, without needing some academic theory to explain it. Male and female, for instance. That's not something we invented. That's something God created, right? And this is where I think a lot of people, they are missing the point. Because when you remove God from the conversation, everything starts to fall apart. Because now, truth becomes whatever people feel like it is. Now definitions can change depending on who's talking. Reality becomes flexible. And once you get there, folks, there's no more foundation anymore. There's no foundation anymore. And that's why I always come back to this. God is not confused. God is not changing his mind every 5 minutes. You see, when he created male and female, for instance, that wasn't a suggestion, I think. That wasn't a social experiment. That was design. That was intentional. And I trust that. I trust God more than I trust modern culture. And I'll also say this clearly, folks. Because look at what's happening now. We've got people overcomplicating the simplest things. We've got adults talking in circles, using big words, trying to blur what is obvious. And at the same time, you've got a young boy, standing there saying, hey, this doesn't make sense. This isn't right. That tells you everything you need to know, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely. And let us talk about the real issues here. Because this isn't some abstract debate. This is about kids, folks. This is about safety. This is about fairness. You see? And I keep asking myself, When did protecting kids become controversial? You see? When did it become a problem to say, hey, maybe girls should have their own spaces? When did it become extreme to say, let's not put biological males into female sports or private areas? That used to be normal, right? That used to be common sense, right? And suddenly, if you say that, you're the bad guy. Ladies and gentlemen, as a parent or even just someone who cares about the next generation, you cannot sit back and ignore this. You can't just assume the system is doing what is right anymore. I mean, that time I think is gone. If anything, the system is where a lot of this confusion is actually coming from. You see, now the responsibility falls on us. We have to be more involved. We have to pay attention to what our kids are being taught. You see, we have to be willing to step in and to say, nope, this is not okay. Because if we don't, ladies and gentlemen, someone else will step in and shape their thinking for them. And let me also say this, ladies and gentlemen, not everyone is pushing these ideas, not everybody will push these ideas as good intentions. Some people are genuinely confused. Yeah. But there are others who are pushing an agenda and they are using schools as the platforms. And that is dangerous. That's very dangerous because kids are not equipped to filter any of that. They trust authorities. They assume what they are being told is true. And if we are not careful, they will grow up thinking confusion is normal. And that's why I respect what these students are doing. They are pushing back. They're saying, nope, we are not going to just accept this stuff. And ladies and gentlemen, this is not about hate. No, it's not. Absolutely. You see? And I think we need more young men, young women who are willing to stand up for their sisters, for other women. We need more young women willing to speak the truth without fear. That's how you protect a generation, ladies and gentlemen. And I think it actually says something powerful when kids can see what's right more than the others who are in charge. That should be a wake-up call, you see? Because this isn't about politics for me. It's actually deeper than that. This is about truth. This is about order. This is about trusting the one who created all of this in the first place, ladies and gentlemen. Jesus didn't come to bring confusion. I don't think so. I think he came to bring truth. He came to bring clarity, you see. And when I look at the world right now, I see what happens when people walk away from the truth, ladies and gentlemen. Everything becomes unstable. So yeah, I'm going to stand on that. I'm going to stand on what God says, not what culture says, you see. And I'll say this to anyone who's watching, don't be passive about this stuff. Don't just assume things will work out themselves out. Things will just work themselves out, Be involved. Be present. Protect your kids, your family, your relatives. You see, teach them truth. Ground them in something solid. Because if you don't, the world will gladly step in and do it for you. And what they will give your child is not truth, but confusion. And obviously, we don't want that. Well, folks, if you enjoyed this one, click on the next video. You will definitely enjoy it even more. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do so that you don't miss any other future uploads.